Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Carl Jung's warning is not an idea to be admired from a distance. It is the painful truth you are living right now. You think you are free, but you are not. You think you chose this life, but it was chosen for you long before you knew what choice even meant. From the moment you took your first steps, the mask was pressed onto your face. Parents, teachers, culture, all telling you who you must be. Sit still, be polite, get good grades, smile when you don't feel like smiling. Suppress the anger, hide the tears, perform. You grew up rehearsing lines written by someone else, believing them to be your own. And every time you played your role, the mask fused tighter. You became the student they wanted, the friend they approved of, the worker they respected. But inside, something essential began to vanish, the living pulse of your true self. You know this feeling. It creeps in at night when the noise finally dies down. That restless ache, that hollow weight in your chest. You scroll through screens, you fill your days with tasks, but nothing silences it for long. The more you try to keep up the mask, the more suffocating it becomes. You tell yourself you are fine, that everyone feels this way, but deep down you know the truth. You are betraying yourself. Anxiety gnaws at you, emptiness lingers like smoke in your lungs, and you wonder why you feel like a stranger in your own body. It is like living in a house built on someone else's blueprint, walls that don't fit, windows too small, doors locked from the inside. You decorate it, you smile through it, but it never feels like home. And then one fracture appears. Sometimes it is small, a breakup, a lost job, a friendship that ends. Sometimes it is catastrophic, betrayal, grief, failure that burns through everything you thought you were. The mask slips, the lines blur. For a moment you see the raw face beneath, the one you have spent years hiding. It terrifies you because you don't recognize it. But there is also a strange pull, a whisper that says, this is who you were meant to meet all along. That fracture is the beginning of truth. The mask cannot hold forever, and the collapse you fear is the same collapse that sets you free. This is the threshold. You stand at the edge of illusion, staring into the mirror that shows not the persona, but the shadow. And though it feels like war inside your own skin, remember this: the wound is the doorway. Every mask you tear away, every lie you refuse to live, brings you one step closer to the self no one can take from you. I remove the mask. I face the ache. I choose the truth. From childhood you are handed scripts that do not belong to you. Become a doctor. Be successful. Marry well. Make the family proud. And so you climb ladders built by other people's hands, thinking the summit will finally bring peace. You buy the car, the house, the ring. You post smiling photos, and for a moment it feels real. But when the lights go out, you feel the gnawing silence return. It is like wearing shoes 2 sizes too small. They look polished from the outside, but every step cuts deeper into your skin. The applause of others fades quickly, leaving only the ache of self-betrayal. You realize you have been performing a dream that was never yours. And then comes the illusion of love. Jung said that what most people call love is often projection, the meeting of 2 wounds, not 2 souls. You think you are falling for a person, but you are falling into the image of your own unhealed shadow. You project your need for safety, for approval, for rescue. They project their need for control, for admiration, for escape. It feels intoxicating at first, but underneath it is dependency disguised as devotion. You mistake chains for intimacy, surrendering freedom in exchange for validation, and when they withhold affection, your world collapses, because it was never true love, it was your neediness reflected back at you. Love built on projection is not a union of souls, it is a contract of control signed in invisible ink. And the more you cling to it, the more it steals from you. False comfort feels safe, but it is a cage. You convince yourself that at least you are not alone, at least you are secure, at least you are accepted, but the price is suffocating. You lock the door from the inside and call it stability, not realizing it is slow self-burial. The job you hate, the relationship you endure, the mask you refuse to drop, they become walls around the true self. You feel the air thinning, you know you are shrinking inside your own life, and yet you stay, because leaving means facing the raw silence of who you really are. Illusion gives you comfort, but at the cost of your soul, safety becomes your prison, and the longer you remain, the harder it is to breathe. This is the lie that borrowed dreams, false love, and hollow comfort will save you. They cannot. They were never meant to. They are shadows painted on the wall, distractions that keep you from turning around and meeting the source of the light. You must be willing to break the cage, to expose the illusion, to risk emptiness in order to find truth. Because only when the mask falls, only when the false walls crumble, does your real self begin to breathe. I release the false. I break the cage. I choose the truth. Think about the partner you once loved, the one who reminded you of safety. Was it safety, or was it the familiar echo of a parent who withheld affection? You think you chose them, but in truth your wound chose. You say you hate conflict, yet you find yourself in jobs where your voice is silenced, where authority crushes you. You think it's bad luck, but it is the wound steering you back into the same cage you grew up in. Even friendships repeat the cycle. You attract those who drain you, use you, or abandon you, because somewhere deep inside, abandonment is the story you already know. This is the haunting truth. Your wounds are writing your script, and you are living it as if it were destiny. But the shadow never stays quiet. It leaks. It spills through the cracks you try to seal. Suppressed desires, buried fears, unspoken rage, they do not die, they wait. And when you least expect it, they erupt. That is why the person who never felt heard suddenly lashes out in uncontrollable anger. That is why the one who felt unseen turns to substances, screens, or obsessions to numb the ache. That is why someone who swore to be different ends up sabotaging the very life they built. The shadow is like a wolf chained in the basement. You think you have it locked away, but at night you hear its growl, you smell its breath under the door, and one day when the chain snaps, it tears through everything: relationships, health, sanity. The wolf is not evil, it is the part of you you refuse to face, now raging for recognition. This is where the fear awakens, because you realize you are not in control. The shadow is. Every time you run from it, it grows stronger in the dark. Every time you deny it, it takes another piece of your freedom. The illusion of control is shattered when you see how much of your life is not choice but compulsion, not desire but repetition. This is the urgency Jung warns of. If you do not face the shadow, you are doomed to be ruled by it. Imagine building an entire life, only to wake up and see it was never yours. It was your wound's design. That is the terror. And yet it is also the doorway. To confront the shadow is to reclaim the throne of your own life. To meet the wolf is to discover it was power, not poison, waiting to be integrated. You stand here, trembling at the edge of this realization. You can keep running, keep pretending, keep letting the puppeteer pull your strings, or you can turn, enter the basement, and meet the wolf with steady eyes. Because only then will the strings fall. Only then will the chains break. Only then will the shadow serve you instead of destroy you. I see the puppeteer. I hear the wolf. I choose to face my shadow. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. Jung's warning is not gentle. It is the sound of glass breaking inside your chest, because the moment always comes when the persona, that polished mask you've worn for years, can no longer hold. Crisis strikes. Betrayal cuts deep. Loss tears through you like fire, and suddenly the mask slips, and with it everything you thought you were begins to collapse. You know the moment. The partner you trusted shatters your faith. The career you built dissolves overnight. The family member you leaned on turns away. It feels like the stage has collapsed under your feet, and you are falling through empty space. All the roles you played, good son, strong daughter, dependable friend, high achiever, burn away in the blaze of reality. The persona that once protected you now feels like a fragile shell cracking in your hands. It is raw, it is cinematic, it is the mask breaking into pieces you cannot glue back together. And when it breaks, you are left staring into the fragmented mirror of your own soul. You look, and you do not recognize the reflection. You are no longer the person you pretended to be, but you are not yet the one you are becoming. The pieces scatter across the floor, shards of old identities, sharp edges of what you thought was solid. It feels like madness. Anxiety floods your chest, and you whisper, "Who am I if I am not that?" It is the terror of identity collapse, the silence of having no script to follow, no mask to wear, no lines to recite. The mirror has shattered, and now you stand barefoot among the glass, bleeding as you search for a face that is truly yours. But in this collapse lies the secret Jung pointed toward, the necessary death, the death of illusion, the death of the false self. It feels like ruin, but it is actually clearing. The old structures are burning so the new can rise. The collapse is not the end, it is the threshold. Every illusion that dies makes space for truth. Every role that shatters frees you from the performance. The death of the mask is the birth of the self. Painful, yes. Terrifying, yes. But essential. You cannot be reborn while still clutching the corpse of who you never were. So when everything breaks, when your identity lies in pieces, remember, this is the fire that forges. This is the storm that cleanses. This is the grave where illusion is buried, and the soil where your true self will grow. I release the mask. I face the mirror. I choose rebirth. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Jung's words pierce deeper when you realize how often what you called love was not love at all. It was a projection. You weren't truly seeing them. You were seeing yourself, your wounds, your hunger, your unmet needs, reflected back. You thought their embrace healed you, when in truth it only mirrored the absence you had carried since childhood. This is the painful secret. Much of what you called love was your own shadow disguised as devotion. Think about it. The person who gave you attention felt like salvation because you grew up unseen. The partner who felt powerful drew you in because you longed for safety. The one who seemed broken pulled at your heart because saving them felt like saving yourself. But that was not love. That was projection. You weren't loving them. You were chasing fragments of your own unfinished story. Like a mirror held up to your wounds, they reflected what you had lost, what you never received, what you were still aching to reclaim. It felt real, intoxicating, undeniable. Yet it was not love. It was a transaction of shadows, an exchange of unhealed pain. And here comes the great reframe. What you lost was never love. It was never safe. It was never destiny. It was your wound dressed up as romance, your fear disguised as passion, your avoidance masquerading as connection. That realization can feel like betrayal, but it is freedom in disguise. You didn't lose a soulmate. You lost an illusion, and illusions must die so that truth can live. This burden lifts when you see it clearly. You are not broken for losing them. You are being freed from the contract your shadow wrote without your consent. The collapse is not punishment, it is released. And in that release comes liberation. Because when you see the difference between projection and love, you stop clinging to ghosts. You stop handing your power to wounds disguised as partners. You clear the path for something deeper, for the first authentic connection, not with another, but with yourself. From there, true love becomes possible, because it is no longer built on chains of fear, but on the foundation of self-knowledge. This truth stings, but it sets you free. It burns, but it cleanses. And it whispers the first taste of real peace. What was lost was never love, and what remains is the chance to finally meet yourself. I release the illusion. I honor the truth. I choose authentic love. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Jung's words lead you to the threshold you have avoided your whole life. This is the descent. The moment you finally stop running from the cave of your own soul. You stand at its entrance with trembling hands, holding only a torch of awareness. The air is heavy. The silence feels alive. But you know that everything you fear waits inside: your rage, your jealousy, your shame, your hunger. You step forward, not because it is easy, but because the cost of running has become unbearable. Every step deeper into the cave strips away another layer of illusion. You feel the weight of your own breath echoing against the wall, and there, in the shadows, you begin to see them, the parts of you you swore to bury, the faces you tried to erase. They do not attack you. They wait, patient, like children long abandoned. The descent is terrifying, but it is also holy, because for the first time you are facing yourself without disguise. Here is the truth that changes everything. The shadow is not your enemy. The shadow is your power, misnamed. Your anger is not poison. It is the fire that protects your boundaries. Your envy is not weakness. It is a compass pointing toward what you desire, but have denied. Your fear is not shameful. It is the guardian that sharpens your awareness. You were taught to suppress these forces, to exile them, to pretend they were not yours, but every exile longs to return home. Integration means welcoming them back, sitting across the table from what you feared most, and saying, "I see you, you belong." It is not indulgence, it is mastery, because what you repress controls you, but what you integrate empowers you. Imagine holding the wolf's gaze in the basement, not chaining it, not killing it, but walking it into the daylight. You discover it was never here to destroy you. It was here to guard your strength. And so comes the rising. After the descent, after the meeting, after the integration, you feel a new wholeness stirring. The fractures begin to mend, not by erasing the cracks, but by filling them with gold, like broken pottery restored through kintsugi. You accept your flaws not as stains, but as marks of humanity. You honor your desires without shame. You embrace your pain as proof of survival. This is not perfection, it is sovereignty. You no longer chase approval because you no longer deny who you are. You no longer collapse under fear because you carry both light and shadow within you. You rise, not as the mask, not as the fragmented reflection, but as the integrated self, strong, sovereign, indivisible. The throne you sought outside was waiting inside all along, and now you sit upon it, not by force, but by wholeness. I descend with courage. I integrate with love. I rise in wholeness. In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder, a secret order. Jung's words are a compass at the end of the storm. Because after everything, the mask shattering, The shadow revealed, the collapse endured. You stand before a choice. It will not be dramatic. It will not be announced with trumpets. It will appear in the silence of daily life. The choice is this: repeat the chaos or choose peace. Every morning, in every small decision, you decide who rules your life, your wounds or yourself. The battlefield is not far away. It is in the tone of your voice, in the people you allow close, in the thoughts you choose to feed. Small choices shape destiny. Every yes you offer without truth strengthens the mask. Every no spoken with clarity strengthens yourself. It is silent, but it is powerful, the power of choice. And when you choose alignment, you feel the peace that follows. No more lies to hold, no more masks to polish, no more storms of self-betrayal raging in your chest. Alignment feels like calm waters after years of drowning. It is not perfect, but it is steady. It is the quiet joy of looking in the mirror and seeing a face you recognize. It is the relief of speaking without rehearsing, of living without pretending. The chaos that once devoured you becomes background noise, no longer your master. Peace is not the absence of pain, it is the presence of truth, and truth is freedom. The journey does not end here. Individuation is lifelong. You will stumble, you will fall. Shadows will whisper again. But now you carry the torch. You know the path. And even when darkness rises, you remember that you are no longer chained by illusion. The road ahead is not about perfection. It is about authenticity. And every step you take in truth is a step into freedom. What once felt like survival now becomes living, and living finally feels like peace. I choose the truth. I choose peace. I choose myself.